Hello and welcome to MBC News Hour. In the next 60 minutes, our reporters across the country will give us the latest in politics, business, entertainment and sports.
You're with me, Arthur Chokoto, alongside
Hilda Ngomano.
And our sign language interpreter is Lynn Mbonda. Glad that you could join us. Let's take a look at stories making headlines.
High expectations as President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address at the opening of the 2026-2027 budget meeting of Parliament this Friday. Government hails the unwavering support from the World Bank towards performing lives of ultra-poor populations. And the Lilongwe Senior Resident Magistrates Court adjourns to 17 April 2026 a case involving 8 individuals suspected of assaulting civil servants on 19 March 2025. Thanks for joining us. As President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address at the opening of the 2026-2027 budget meeting of Parliament this Friday, MBC has found out that there are expectations that the budget should address. Our reporter Patrick Dambula with the details in this report.
That time is here once again when the nation will be ready and eager to hear from the President, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, as he will be delivering the State of the Nation address, otherwise known as the SONA, at the opening of the 2026-2027 budget meeting of Parliament this coming Friday. Ahead of the SONA, MPC sought views of several people to hear their expectations from the 2026-2027 national budget. For Christopher Tafata Tamware, promoting tourism is the way to go if government is to generate the much needed forex.
If the government can promote tourism, it will be better. And even if they can open some companies, it can be so better.
Another resident of Lilongwe, Mavuto Kamlaike Ruhanga, says as the country is coming from a tough economic spell, he will be looking forward to a recovery budget.
Me as a citizen, what I'm expecting more is like a recovery budget that will make things better in terms of pricing. So yeah, I think we're expecting a recovery budget.
MBC also sought the views of some members of Parliament on the upcoming budget. Anthony Masamba, who represents Nchinji Northeast, says he expects nothing but unity among all members of Parliament because the budget, which will be tabled, is for all Malawians.
I expect the members of Parliament to be united because this is the budget for all Malawians. It does not belong to a particular political party represented in the August House. So I expect the Parliament to be united, members of Parliament to be united, members of Parliament to pay much attention to the figures that will be presented in the House, for them to scrutinize these figures so that the budget should be able to provide solutions to several challenges that Malawi as a country is going through.
We also sought the views of member for Nzimba North, Catherine Nzumala, and she says her expectation is a budget which will help to stabilize the economy.
My expectation of a member of Parliament is that this budget will stabilize the economy, that this budget will speak to the poor people in the village, not only on infrastructure transformation, but also on empowerment of the youth, creation of jobs, and reduce poverty, as well as making sure that Malawi has enough forex.
Speaking in his capacity as a player in the private sector, Vizenge Kumwenda says in the 2026-2027 budget, government should consider giving incentives to the private sector to induce production for exports.
As private sector, my expectation is that the budget will be friendly to private sector in terms of giving incentives that can motivate us to engage in production, to engage in export-oriented production, because forex is a big issue, and government needs to give special incentives to industry so that we can engage in export-oriented activities to generate forex. That's a big one.
For his part, Speaker of Parliament Samia Suleiman says considering that this is a budget meeting, Parliament is aware of the huge responsibility ahead of them and they are ready to support the vision of the President for the benefit of Malawians.
It is the first budget for the current government administration, and the Malawians are expecting a lot from this budget. And as Parliament, we are prepared to support the government's agenda and our President's vision of physical monetary policies, but also proper spending and making sure that we safeguard our resources and that Malawians start seeing the benefits from the budgets.
As the President will be delivering the SONA this Friday, Malawians expect the President to outline strategies which will sustain and enhance the economic gains which are already visible since the coming of the current administration. Patrick Dambula, MBC News, Lilongwe.
Meanwhile, a cross-section of people in the northern region have expressed optimism that President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika will tackle key issues that will transform the country in his first State of National Address, SONA, since his re-election in September last year. People that spoke to NBC say they have expectations that the President will tackle key priority areas such as how the economy will be transformed, agriculture, education, and infrastructure development, among others. Hassan Piri reports.
According to businessman Makhama Mulewa, he is expecting that President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika will give a clear roadmap on how the 5 billion Constituency Development Fund campaign promise will be turned into reality, saying this is the game changer Malawians have been waiting for.
Expectation is very huge, and we are waiting for a massive development that will come from the SONA. You remember from 2014 to 2019, the state president said that I want to change Malawi to be like Singapore. And obviously with the introduction of the CDF for 5 billion, I know that Malawi will never be the same. And on top of that, in that SONA, for example, here in the north, we would like to ask the president to also look into the road network in the northern region.
In his remarks, Innocent Marino, who is a pastor based in Nzuzu, says one of the critical areas which the president should tackle in his first State of National Address since his re-election should be agriculture. He says people in the north depend highly on farming, so if the president tackles issues of farm input subsidy program and change the way it has been managed, will help to change the narrative.
He has been ushered into power. We have seen the reduction of maize prices. At the moment, each and every Malawian, even the poorest, are able to have food. So, which is something that we appreciate so much. So we have got high expectations on farming, because here in the northern region, there are a lot of farmers, or the northern region produce a lot of food crops or even cash crops. So we have got that expectation that the president will look into that, like he has just doing in terms of fertilizer subsidy.
Gifting Asulu, who is into a state agent business, says the SONA, which is coming this Friday, will give a clear direction on how the economy is going to grow, considering the fact that Malawi is coming from forex, fuel challenges, and hyperinflation backgrounds, among other challenges.
Looking at areas like forex, we are looking at the areas like the inflation. We are looking at many areas. When we talk of the forex in the economy, we are totally dependent on intertrading. So intertrading will only work when we have got foreign currency. Without foreign currency, we cannot trade with other countries. So that has been the trend in the past regime. that we were failing to have forex in the banks. We were failing to have forex for trading. Nowadays, our young ones are able, our youths are able to purchase cars from outside the country, coming to this country, which was a drawback by then.
General perspective of the people in the northern region is to see how the city of Nzuzu, which is the hub of the region, will be transformed to having dual carriage roads and reduce traffic congestion, which is becoming a problem. The issue of Mombera University and Nzuzu University Library, among other things. Hassan Piri, MBC News, Nzuzu.
Speaker of the National Assembly, Samia Suleiman, says there is need for members of parliament to understand their role on economic governance and oversight in economic issues ahead of the budget meeting. Suleiman made the remarks in Lilongwe during the official opening of the induction workshop on economic governance of Malawi and the role of parliament. Margaret Mapando reports.
Speaker of Parliament Samia Suleiman says the workshop will equip members of Parliament with necessary skills and knowledge on how best they can oversee and influence Malawi's economic management and stability, including budgeting, financial accountability and policy making.
The workshop has come at the right time, going towards the budget session. This should assist us in equipping our members of Parliament with the right knowledge on how to deal with the budget issues. I also mentioned in there about our alignment with our President, Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika's vision of sound monetary policies, Parliament effectively doing its oversight mandate, and also physical discipline. And I'm happy to say that all these are amongst the subjects that our members will be trained on and equipped.
United Nations Development Programme UNDP Deputy Resident Representative Chika Charles Aniekwe says this is part of UNDP's support to ensure that Parliament plays its role as an oversight body. He added that this will help transparency and accountability in government spending and ensure that the people's interests are represented.
This is not coincidental. We are going into a new financial year in Malawi, and I think it's important and that it is timely that the parliamentarians, especially those that are going to be in the committees, are well oriented in terms of their responsibility, in terms of the mandates, but also in terms of what is expected of them for Malawians to ensure there is fiscal accountability in spending.
The induction workshop on economic governance of Malawi and the role of Parliament is being held under the theme Understanding the Economic Landscape for Oversight, and it is being supported by UNDP. Margaret Mapando, MBC News, Lilongwe.
The government of Malawi has held the unwavering support the World Bank has been providing towards transforming lives of ultra-poor populations in the country through its support to various social protection programs. Minister of Gender Mary Navicha said this at Pirimiti, Makawa in Zomba, when she accompanied World Bank's practice manager responsible for 14 countries in Southern and Eastern Africa, Lori Aribas Banos, to appreciate the Social Support Livelihoods Resilient Project, SSRLP. Kumbukani Piri has filed this report.
The Social Support Livelihoods Resilient Project, SSRLP, is leaving a remarkable footprint in Makawa catchment area in Zomba district as lives are being transformed. One of the most outstanding projects is the Climate Smart Public Works program, in which people of Makawa have managed to replenish Pirimiti Hill that was completely depleted in 2001. Minister of Gender Mary Navicha, who accompanied the visiting practice manager for the World Bank, Loli Arebas Banos, to various sites to appreciate the impact of the SSRLP, thanked the World Bank for its collaboration and partnership in various social protection programs. She noted that the SSRLP has been instrumental in improving resilience among the poor and vulnerable populations, with over 3.8 million Malawians benefiting from social cash transfers and other support programs.
It's transforming the lives of people here in Zomba. People are able to testify what is happening in their families. They are transforming their lives from the family into communities. At the same time, they are also able to send their children to school. This is what we call development. So as a minister, I'm so happy, I'm so excited to see the impact here in Zomba. And from what the World Bank has said, is also something that we can celebrate because they've pledged a 10% top-up on these projects.
On her part, Loli Areba-Spanos said the bank would continue to support Malawi in her efforts to improve livelihoods and building resilience. She praised the Social Support for Resilience Livelihoods project for its impact on poverty reduction and climate change interventions. She specifically highlighted Malawi Social Registry, a data platform for social protection programs, which is even being used as a model by Zambia.
It's my team that is supporting the project here, but I had never seen it in person. So it's been actually quite inspiring to see the realities on the ground and to see how much of a difference it's doing in the communities. I think it's not only the project itself, but how much that is contributing to the local infrastructure, but also to community cohesion. And so for me it was empowering to see how the communities had owned the project itself, right? So now they can take it forward once the World Bank is no longer in that project.
The Social Support for Resilient Livelihoods project, SSRLP, focuses on social cash transfers, livelihood support, and climate-smart public works aimed at strengthening the national platform for safety nets. The project is running from 2020 to 2027, implemented by government through the National Local Government Finance Committee, NLGFC, with financial support from the World Bank and Social Protection Multiple Donor Trust Fund at a total cost of $516 million. Kumbukani Piri, NBC News, Zomba.
Government says it remains determined to support initiatives that advance applied research, innovation and skills development within the country's institution of higher learning. Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Brighton Saka, disclosed this in Blantyre during the commissioning of the Mubas Agriculture Mechanization Unit, which is responsible for the manufacturing of a range of agricultural equipment such as handheld tractors, among others. Chisamo Break reports.
Msaka said the commissioning of the unit symbolizes a deliberate step towards transforming ideas into practical solutions, converting knowledge into productivity, and ensuring that higher education contributes directly to national development.
This is what we expect the universities to do, and the university can count on the support of the Malawi government to ensure that their innovation is promoted, is inspired, and that their innovation impacts on the Malawian citizen. So be assured that as soon as a university is innovative and produces equipment and items and gadgets that go towards the improvement of the lives of Malawians, that university will have the fullest support of the Malawi government.
Mubas Council Chairperson William Mpinganjira said the initiative is expected to strengthen local capacity in agro-mechanization while creating opportunities for skills development, innovation, and income generation within the institution.
Universities in Malawi historically have relied on subsidies from government. So the launch of this mechanization unit is now the start of commercializing the research and the knowledge that the university has, and these products will be available to the private sector, public sector, and all Malawians who are willing and able to acquire this, and this should help in the funding, diversifying the funding resources for the university.
Mubas Vice Chancellor Nancy Chitera said the commissioning of the unit is testimony that the university is actively responding to the national agenda by developing locally appropriate technologies.
Just the production of these particular items, it just shows our commitment that we are there. And the technologies that we are mentioning here, they are not, we are not restricted to those technologies only, but the farmers, those that have the gardens or that have farms, whatever, they can come forward and tell us the technologies that they want. if it's not there. We have the capacity, we have the equipment that we can produce those agricultural technologies.
The facility will be manufacturing and assembling a range of agricultural machinery, including handheld tractors, maize shellers, crop planters, and maize harvesters. The total cost of the investment is around 5 billion kwacha, which includes purchase of the equipment, rehabilitation of the facility, as well as training of staff members. Chisomo Break, NBC News, Blantyre.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture Alfred Gangata says government is committed to advancing the arts sector and promoting cultural activities as a means of boosting the country's economy. Gangata made the remarks in Blantyre when he officially opened discussions for artists under the National Arts and Heritage Council of Malawi, NAHEC. The discussions aim to establish a framework that will guide the work of artists over the next 5 years. Ruth Chinangwa reports.
Speaking to journalists, Gangata said the DPP-led government recognizes the role of arts and culture in promoting social cohesion, youth participation and national development. He said this is why the government included the promotion of culture in Malawi 2063 and fully supports steps towards the development of a framework for the sector. Gangata has since urged NAHEC to ensure that their strategic plan is practical and responsive to the real challenges artists face, which can support the growth of the sector. One of the arts and culture experts, Eric Trinta, said the discussions have come at the right time, especially ahead of parliamentary deliberations.
I'm very happy because when you're looking at the NAHEC task force, which comprises all the creatives in the sector, we're waiting for the implementation of the Arts Council. Now, this session is consultative in the formulation of strategic plan. Now, when you're looking at the strategic plan, it simply means that organization will be there. We are now strategizing for the next 5 years for the creatives in Malawi. And we are expecting huge input from us, from the creatives, and see Malawi taking the right position in as far as the creatives are concerned and also tourism.
The Council is mandated to implement cultural policies aimed at preserving national identity and driving economic growth through tourism and cultural industries. Ruth Chinangwa, NBC News, Blantyre.
You are watching News Hour here on NBC. Still to come, we'll join our colleagues at our Lilongwe studios, plus the business and sports segments. A reminder of our top stories. High expectations as President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address at the opening of the 2026-2027 budget meeting of Parliament this Friday. Government hails the unwavering support from the World Bank towards performing lives of ultra-poor populations. And the Lilongwe Senior Resident Magistrates Court adjourns to 17 April 2026 a case involving 8 individuals suspected of assaulting civil servants on 19 March 2025.
There are words we keep in our hearts, words we never said, love we never expressed, pain we never healed. This Valentine's Day, MBC TV invites you to share your heart. Write a letter to the one you love, or the one you lost, or even to yourself. Send your letter via WhatsApp on 099-4577-529. Or you can send via email on fatimajabulika35@gmail.com, not later than the 11th of February 2026. This Valentine's Day, let love
Welcome back, and moving on with MBC News Hour. The Lilongwe Senior Resident Magistrate Court has adjourned to 17th April 2026 a case involving 8 individuals suspected of assaulting concerned civil servants who were holding demonstrations on 19th March 2025. Magistrate Brecious Kondowe adjourned the case after the state presented 3 witnesses from Area 18 Health Center and Kamuzu Central Hospital, as well as the chairperson of the civil servants who organized the demonstrations. State Prosecutor Prescott Mwaiulipo said so far the state has paraded 5 witnesses in total and remains with 3 more.
We are just remaining with only 3 witnesses. So we have actually registered substantial progress, and we have actually informed the court that even these remaining witnesses are just within reach. So the court has actually adjourned this particular matter to the 17th day of April this year for the remaining witnesses to appear before court and testify accordingly. We have registered substantial progress in relation to other cases involving the same accused persons. Yes, the Mbowe case, so far we have dealt with 2 witnesses. And in the immediate future, we'll be dealing with the remaining witnesses. The same applies to Mponela case and the one to do with Parliament. So the dates were already set aside, and we're just the dates were already set down by the honorable courts. So what is remaining is simply to make sure that all these witnesses are readily available for purposes of court proceedings.
One of the defense lawyers, George Kadzipatige, also said the case is progressing well.
The case is progressing well, and the court has adjourned the case to the 17th day of April 2026 at 10 a.m. The court has warned us that if we come to court late, the court will not be able to be waiting for us. For example, if the case has been adjourned, as the court has done, to the 17th day of April 2026, we have to be here by 10 a.m. If we are not here by 10 a.m., what the court has said is that it will be proceeding without having to wait for the parties to the case.
Let's now cross over to our Lilongwe studios for updates from the Central Region.
Welcome to the Lilongwe segment of News Hour, coming to you live from Area 4 studios. My name is Patrick Dambula and my colleague here,
Mine Tumodze.
Let's take a look at the first story. Minister of Homeland Security Peter Mukito says government is reviewing if there is need to have human trafficking officers in the districts. The minister said this in response to concerns raised by Rights Advice Center that lack of training and funding for district human trafficking coordinators is detrimental towards the fight against human trafficking in the country. Austin Fukula reports.
According to the Malawi Network Against Trafficking, the country records at least 20 human trafficking-related cases daily, a development that is considered worrisome. Stakeholders in the fight against trafficking argue that Malawi could make significant progress if the 9 districts where the Ministry of Homeland Security established coordinating committees against human trafficking in 2022 were fully functional. Madalisto Masache, Center Manager for Rights Advice Center and Vice Chairperson of Mangochi District Coordinating Committee Against Human Trafficking in Persons, said the committee's dysfunction caused by lack of funding and insufficient capacity is among the factors hindering a rigorous fight against human trafficking.
Coordinating committees are not functional. This is because since they were established, funding has not been given to these districts committees to train people who are in these committees on their roles, their functions, so the committees are not functional.
In response, Homeland Security Minister Peter Mukito argued that establishing district human trafficking committee coordinators could duplicate the work already carried out by immigration and police officers. The minister said the focus should instead be on strengthening the capacity of uniformed personnel to dismantle human trafficking syndicates and raise public awareness.
I think that will be reviewed, and I hope that by April 2026, I think we will be able again to see which direction we are going to take. But in all seriousness, if we are so serious with the way our immigration works, I don't think we need again to have the human trafficking officers in all the districts. I don't think it will be just another extra expenses, because we already do have our own systems within the immigration. What we need is to strengthen not only immigration but also the Malawi Police Service.
The main push factors for human trafficking in the country remain poverty, unemployment, and corruption, particularly along border districts. Stakeholders continue to call for collective efforts to combat the vice. Austin Fukula, NBC News, Lilongwe.
Thank you so much, Austin, for that report. The Minister of Health and Sanitation says it is committed to strengthening health service delivery, infrastructure, and ensuring equitable access to quality care for all citizens across the Malawi. Deputy Minister of Health and Sanitation Charles Chilambula said this during the commissioning of the newly constructed laboratories and health posts in Mzimba and Likoma districts funded by the Global Fund. Trinity Kapantengo brings more details in this report.
Malawi's partnership with Global Fund has been instrumental in supporting various initiatives such as the construction of health posts in different communities to ensure access to health services and building resilient health systems. Deputy Minister of Health and Sanitation Charles Chilambula said the commissioning of a laboratory and health posts in Zimba and Rukoma districts funded by the Global Fund showcased government's commitment to improving access of healthcare services in all districts of the country. Chilambula said this aligns with Malawi's greater goal in achieving Malawi Health Sector Strategic Plan 3 and Universal Health Coverage UHC.
Government is very much committed in operating quality health services. As you have seen the past 2 weeks, we are moving up and down, commissioning several facilities. So we want to be able to offer the service close to the people. That is one of the indicators which will help us to improve much, because the services are very close to the people. We reduce the distance. By reducing the distance, we are reducing the time that takes for someone to get care which can save the life.
Deputy Manager for Global Fund and Gavi Program Implementing Unit PIU, Rhoda Banda, says that Global Fund will remain committed to supporting the Malawi government in strengthening healthcare systems.
And the ministry saw that there are some areas that are very hard to reach, and the Global Fund has supported the ministry to ensure that they bring services closer to the people. So like you can see here, we are in Mbungo Health Post. It's one of the 25 health posts that have been supported by Global Fund to ensure that the people don't walk longer distances. I think not more than 8 kilometers to go to a facility. So that's the essence of this kind of support.
Director of Health and Sanitation Services in Likoma, Dr. Grace Matewe, commended government and Global Fund's initiative, saying it will positively impact the welfare of both health personnel and citizens in Likoma.
Likoma has got a lot of challenges, and one of which is the lack of proper infrastructure. So obviously, the coming in of this infrastructure is going to improve the overall provision of the health services in Likoma. I'm very much sure that because we have this facility, our health workers are going to be motivated because, as you can see in this area, there was no any facility that we could use, for example, for outreach clinics.
In his remarks, Senior Chief Nkumpa 3 of Rikoma District expressed satisfaction with the construction of Yoma and Mungo health posts in the district, saying the post will alleviate access to healthcare system challenges in the district.
Ife kuno kulikoma ndifosangala kwambiri.
We are very happy with the coming of these developments. We have been anticipating for these developments for a long time. Obviously, we'll address the challenges that were there in accessing health services.
The health systems initiatives are in line with Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which focuses on ensuring health lives and promoting well-being for everyone, addressing both preventable diseases and universal health coverage. Malawi's universal health coverage journey is marked by a commitment to achieve it by 2030. Global Fund has constructed laboratories and health posts across the country, including Gender Rural Hospital Laboratory, Yoma Health Post, Mbungo Health Post, and staff houses, with the laboratory funding amounting to 156 million kwacha, 146 million kwacha for Yoma, and over 1 billion kwacha for Mbungo Health Post and 2 staff houses. Trinity Kapantengo, MBC News, Lilongwe.
The Construction Industry Regulatory Authority, CIRA, has urged councils, contractors and other stakeholders to comply with regulations to ensure the delivery of quality infrastructure nationwide. Madalitso Muhango with a report.
Chief Executive Officer of the Construction Industry Regulatory Authority, CIRA, Engineer Gerard Konje, has emphasized the need for district councils and other stakeholders to adhere to required standards to ensure the long-term sustainability of infrastructure projects and reduce maintenance costs. Konje added that the authority has implemented several strategies, including the development of infrastructure delivery management standards and construction cost indices aimed at improving the delivery of essential infrastructure across the country.
The government is actually investing a lot of resources in infrastructure development, and for us to produce quality infrastructure, all stakeholders are required to work together. CIRA issued a special communique highlighting the various issues that are supposed to be followed by all stakeholders so that the industry is well regulated, but at the same time we are able to develop the capacity and build the capacity to deliver the necessary infrastructure.
Director of Public Works at Ilongwe District Council, Sidi Nejipaga, said the discussions focused on measures that will help district councils ensure timely implementation of projects.
CIRA would want us to be doing our works in a more transparent way. At the same time, we have to be accountable. At the same time, we have to make sure that projects are being implemented within the scheduled time.
CIRA was established under the 2025 Construction Industry Act of Parliament with the mandate to regulate, develop and promote the construction industry in the country. Madalitso Muhango, MBC News, Lilongwe.
In a move aimed at strengthening decentralization and bringing development closer to the people, government is establishing area civic education hubs across the country. The initiative is designed to empower citizens with information and enhance grassroots participation in governance and development processes. Emmanuel Chikonso reports.
Decentralization can only be achieved when citizens fully understand their role in governance and development. It is for this reason that the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has begun setting up area civic education hubs in various districts, creating platforms where communities can access information on government policies and programs. Deputy Director for Civic Education, Lawrence Hussein, says the hubs will simplify the channeling of information and ensure communities clearly understand the decentralization agenda.
We feel that in line with mindset change, the owners or the people in the rural areas must own the development, whatever development is happening. And if they are to own it, they have to participate in it. That's why we are encouraging these discussions in the hubs to find solutions through civic education of the populace out there, so that once convinced, people should change their mindset.
Hussein explains that decentralization goes beyond transferring funds to districts. It is about empowering citizens to participate in decision-making and monitor the utilization of public resources, including the 5 billion Kwacha Constituency Development Fund. So far, 14 hubs have already been set up out of a target of 400 hubs to be established in all regions of the country. In the Dedza district, Traditional Authority Kachindamoto is among areas where a hub is operational. Chairperson of the hub, Stanley Maposa, says the platform will help bring about mindset change and ensure development activities move smoothly at community level.
We want to be a good example. We want people from all over to learn from this place and appreciate that things are changing. People from other districts should come here at Kachindamoto to learn. Here at Kachindamoto, we are united and things are working.
As the rollout continues, government maintains that empowering communities with knowledge remains central to achieving meaningful decentralization and sustainable development. Emmanuel Chikonso, MBC, Data.
Well, that's how we conclude this segment of News Hour from Area 4 Studios in Lilongwe. You have been with me, Patrick Dambula, and my colleague here.
Mine, Tumodze.
We're handing you back to Blantyre for more stories.
Well, many thanks to Patrick Dambula and Mwaim Tumodzi for giving us that update from the Central Region. And now,
for the latest in business news, we are joined by Justin Mkweu.
Thank you very much, and we start with the news that economic experts have commended government for reducing borrowing. On Tuesday this week, government borrowed only 12 billion kwacha after financial institutions offered 179 billion kwacha for government to borrow through treasury bills. This is not new under the new administration, because early this month, government refused to completely borrow 82.7 billion kwacha, which the financial institutions offered through treasury bills. Speaking to MBC, a financial expert, Saidi Jackson, said this means that the private sector will now have a chance to borrow the money from financial institutions, which would have rather gone to the government.
First of all, government has shown discipline by limiting the borrowing from 179 to 12 billion, which is 93%. If it was in discipline, probably they would have just swept the money and used it in the way they would use. But this is an indication that they have good projects, they know where the money will go, and it's a positive one, and we wish this to continue. And on the other hand, also, the government is concerned with its citizens. You know, it has reduced the interest rates from 15% to 12% on treasury bills, 3% down the line. This is one way of taking a burden from its citizens, because the interest, definitely, it means the individuals, the citizens, are the ones to pay for it. But by reducing, it shows the seriousness on its people, that we shouldn't be burdened to pay for those such interests. And also on the government side, third area, it has shown that physical discipline is there. How to collect money and how to spend money is a clear indication. Otherwise, they would have just collected the way they want to collect and spend the way they want to spend at any cost, burdening the citizens. So this is a prudent way of managing the economy, in my view. On the side of the investor, they have shown that they have got confidence in the economy, that it is very stable. Their investment will be realized after the 3 months, 91 days. So there is that confidence.
Okay, but on the other hand, it shows that the private sector has a lot of money which is being tied somewhere. They are unable to rent out that particular money. Probably, I would have a hypothesis to say, maybe because interest rates are very high, people are unable to borrow money from the bank. So hence they have a lot of reserves which they have nowhere to take it to. So by the government limiting its borrowing from them, it's one way of telling them go somewhere, private sector, and rent out the money so that the money should be in the circulation.
The Malawi Revenue Authority, MRA, has told businesses that they should not be worried of a new taxation system called electronic invoicing system. This system replaces the electronic fiscal devices, which was introduced in 2014. Speaking during an interaction with journalists in Blantyre on Tuesday, Wima Charulu, who is the spokesperson for MRA, said the new system is not aimed at punishing businesses, but rather simplify the process of tax collection. Charulu spoke to MBC on the sidelines of the interaction.
There is a lot of misinformation out there. You know, sometimes if you don't have enough information, there's a tendency to scare. But what we can say is that currently there's the electronic fiscal devices system, and that was introduced around 2014. So as you know, the world is moving on, technology has moved on, and we would like to make taxpayers' compliance easier. So there's this new system called the electronic invoicing system. It's just merely a system that is technologically more advanced. It is able to, for example, in terms of compliance, the gadgets are even much lower than the EFTs were. In terms of the system, it's the system that you can be accessed online and in real time. And this is what the world is going to now. It's a system that they can be interfaced in real time anywhere that you are, without the need for maybe the much more expensive EFTs that was there. The system or the gadgets are much lower, and they can interface with any system.
The Malawi Stock Exchange, MSE, has warned youths against taking the market as betting. Speaking to MBC, Malawi Stock Exchange Chief Executive Officer John Kamanga said they are delighted by the growing interest by youths to invest through the market. He, however, warned that they should take the market as a long-term tool of wealth creation rather than taking it as a betting platform. He explains in this interview with George Banda.
Others, they believe that at least if I invest today, my share or my assets will go up tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. What we intend to say that when you're investing, use the financial statements, use the historical financial statements that they have, use also the trading statements which they have come up, so that you can come up with an informed investment decision. Because investment on the stock market is about the information which we have. That's why we encourage listed companies to have timely disclosure of information to the general public, because with that information it will help the investing community to come up with an informed investment decision.
Well, with that story, we've come to the end of today's business segment inside News Hour, and it's back to you, my colleagues.
Well, thank you so much, Justin, for that business update. For the latest in sports, Norbert Jameson joins us now.
Inside the sports segment, we begin with news that since 2010, Malawi's pool star Griffin Stamford has been rocking the African continent with a series of phenomenal performances against the continent's top players. Amin Musa caught up with Stamford and his manager Roderick Mindres, and he now reports.
Griffin Jinte Stamford is a highest rated pool star in Africa. The Malawian has defeated almost every big player across the continent. But how did Stanford come into this stage? He shares his background.
I started playing pool in 2010. By then, it was just a small table. Thereafter, I started playing on a normal big table. Initially, I was just addicted to the game, but after learning it, I became the best amongst my fellow players. Some of the biggest players that I've faced in Malawi are like Zimba from Umzuzu and Stewart from Blantyre. I had my first international trip in 2023 when I traveled to Zambia and I emerged the competition's champion. I have defeated some of the biggest African stars in my career. I remember I defeated 2 Ugandan top players, 4 Zambian stars, and other Zimbabwean and South Africans. Tough times have been there, of course. I remember I lost to Eden and Harry. I have benefited a lot from playing pool. Currently, I bought my pool tables and I am doing some good businesses. All these originated from the game. My dream is to play in the United Kingdom. Finally, doing regular training is the best secret for the game.
The star did not just rise from nowhere. He has an official manager who scouted and identified his talent. Roderick Mindres is the man behind Africa's most famous pool athlete.
I met Ginte in 2017 at College of Medicine. That time I was picking up my wife from school. And while waiting for her, I had to go into a cafe where there was a pool table. And I was playing there. That's when I met Ginte. I played with him 3 games and he beat me. I was considering myself as a good player, but his touch was totally different. And I approached him and asked him to meet me at Kaya Lounge. And he came. I asked him why you always play for money matches. And he said because people promised him a lot that they will help him, but they were not helping him. And I told him, okay, fine, choose a country that you want to go. He had to choose Zambia. And we processed a passport for him. I gave him money. He traveled to Zambia in 2017. He's exceptional. And a lot of countries have recognized him since 2023 after winning the billiards. And his touch is totally different. And now he's regarded as one of the best in Africa. They have recognized him, and he's always mentioned in several platforms on social media as one of the best pool players in Africa. Zambia, each and every year they host tournaments. And there are 9 countries, 10 countries participating. All those countries, they bring in forex, they bring in money from their country. If we host people here from other countries, like 9 countries, it means there will be a lot, more than 100 people coming in at the same time. All right, we have to expect a lot of forex.
Malawi has got sports talent that just need special attention and proper grooming. Amin Musa, NBC Sport, Blantyre.
Oh my God, oh my God. From pool, we move on to netball, where we engage some of the country's rising netball stars to share their inspiration, dreams and challenges. Bubile Zimba is one blossoming star who has set her eyes on breaking barriers to one day star for the national team. The 18-year-old Form 3 student at Nzimba Secondary School plays for Nzimba Queens as wing attacker. She tells her story.
Watching the likes of Bonzo Takondo Lwasi and Tandi Galeta inspired me to develop interest in netball, and here I am, chasing my dreams. Where I come from, the major challenge is lack of competitions to keep us busy. There is talent out there, but with very few competitions, exposure becomes a challenge. But that will not slow me down, as I will keep working hard to someday play overseas.
Another star in the making is Ivy Kachinjika, who plays as a goal shooter for Lilongwe-based Vanessa Sisters Reserve. Earlier this month, the 19-year-old towering shooter played a pivotal role as her team clinched the inaugural Mukuru Under-21 National Netball Cup. Inspired by the legendary Joyce Mvula and Singapore-bound Tendai Masamba, Kachinjika refuses to allow critics pull her down.
The start was tough because when I joined the team, there are lots of good players. So settling down to earn myself a place in the team wasn't easy. But at the moment, all is well and I'm enjoying my game. When I get negative criticisms, I look at it positively and I take it as a motivation to improve myself and prove the doubters wrong.
Apart from the duo, there are several other young stars who are chasing their dreams in netball to someday write their names among the country's greats. And well, that's it in sports as we hand you back to our main anchors.
Well, thank you so much, Norbert, for that sports segment. And that item also concludes this edition of News Hour. A reminder of our top stories before we leave. High expectations as President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika is expected to deliver the State of the Nation address at the opening of the 2026-2027 budget meeting of Parliament this Friday. Government hails the unwavering support from the World Bank towards performing lives of ultra-poor populations. And the Lilongwe Senior Resident Magistrates Court adjourns to 17 April 2026 a case involving 8 individuals suspected of assaulting civil servants on 19 March 2025.
Well, keep up to date with our news coverage on all our digital pages by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen. You are with me, Arthur Chokoto, alongside
Hilda Ngomano. And our sign language interpreter tonight was Linley Mponda. From the entire team, it's thanks for watching and bye for now.
Mothamangira nthawi tamverani izi mukangolowa